Welcome to Bonano TV's One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso. This weekend, we examine the impact of early withdrawals of NAPSA contributions now permitted by the new Dawn administration in Zambia. We explore the misconceptions of self-employment versus regular employment, and we relate these matters to small business development in Zambia. And of course, we make public policy recommendations. So like, subscribe, follow Bonano TV on Facebook and YouTube. And before we get started, I'll give you a few minutes to share this important discussion with your friends and family on Facebook and YouTube. Whilst you're doing that, I will let the legendary Olia Band entertain us with a classic piece of Kalindula Code, Chenda Mundeke.
Kwa Mama. Najikane kakakwa twaifa yale nyama chamu twechami chamusa na bangambo
Kambo.
Hi, Robbie.
Hello, Doc. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
No, we are doing good. We're doing good. We are right.
Okay.
I don't know how you've been too.
I have just been fine. The weekend is here. We have to rest and watch some games and enjoy what is here to enjoy.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you do? So where's Martha?
Martha, well, are we live?
No, I don't see Martha here. Anyway, let's get started. You as usual take that spot. She will join us later.
Okay, Martha is trying to connect, but she will find us on the way. I guess she will find us on the way.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can go.
Okay, right. Welcome to Bonano TV, one-on-one with Dr. Kasonso. This weekend we examine the impact of early withdrawals of NAPSA contributions, now permitted by the new Dawn administration in Zambia. We explore the misconceptions of self-employment versus regular employment. We also relate these matters to small business development in Zambia. And of course, make public policy recommendations like subscribe and also follow Bonano TV on Facebook and YouTube. So before we get started, I will give you a few minutes to share this important discussion with your friends and family on Facebook and YouTube. While you are doing that, I also let ourselves get adjusted and then get into serious bedrock. Well, I'm of course standing in for Martha. She should have been with us, but unfortunately she's not with us. From Lusaka, she's just talked to me that she's having problems with a network in Chalala. However, Ndola, Zambia is okay. We are going good with our network here. So of course, I wish to, of course, thank you viewers for your viewership. This week we reached 80,000 viewers online platforms. So this Saturday night segment on Bonano TV, we are present, on one-on-one with Dr. Kasonso, where we're going to talk about current issues in business with a focus on Zambia. Today, it is the Small Business Talk Part 3. We start, this 2 week, we did this, I think 2 weeks ago. We're in the 3rd week. So please, this discussion must be taken seriously, and we allow you to share with your friends and on Facebook and also on YouTube and any other platform you are online. Before I bring in Dr. Kasonso, let me take you through with what we have been doing in terms of volatility of currency kwacha against other statistics. I mean, other currencies that keep trending against our kwacha. Of course, at the close of business this week, the US dollar to the kwacha was buying at 15 kwacha.97 and selling at 16 kwacha. The British pound was also buying at 17.8 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha.86. The euro was also buying at 15 kwacha.62 and selling at 15.66 ngwe. The South African rand was buying at 0.86 ngwe, selling at 0.87 ngwe. This past week, the kwacha slightly depreciated against two major currencies. That's the US dollar and the euro. Particularly, the dollar was selling 16 kwacha per dollar for the first time in more than a month. However, this week, the kwacha gained marginally on the British pound and the South African rand. Overall, these marginal changes cannot have a significant impact on business unless the cyclical trends and margins exceed the monthly business cycle. Thank you so much for listening to the kwacha performance against the major convertible currencies. At this time, I wish to also, bring you back to our business, where we are with Dr. Kasonso. So we hope the kwacha can continue to hold strong. The downward spiral obtaining on this last week, 3 weeks, will not be good news for business in Zambia. Of course, that has to sound a warning to you, especially those that are in business. So on One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso, we launched a series of discussions on the business prospects of Zambia economy in the post-IMF deal. Tonight, it is the small business talk part 3. I should, repeat that. We discussed the impact of early withdrawals of NAPSA contributions now permitted by the New Dawn administration in Zambia. We also are exploring, like I mentioned earlier, misconceptions of self-employment, versus regular employment. We relate these matters to small business development in Zambia, and of course, make public policy recommendations. We still expect you to share this broadcast with your beloved friends, those that are doing business, those that are serious at what we are discussing and looking into with the Professor Kasonso. Well, I know all of you are anxious, seeing ourselves into our business. At this moment, I wish to welcome Professor Kasonso. Professor Kasonso, you're welcome to Bonano TV, One-on-One with you, Doc. Welcome tonight.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Robbie. I'm very excited to be part of this important discussion. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Doc, the broadcast is quite breaking. Are you there, Doc?
Yes, I am here, and I just say that I'm very excited to be part of this discussion, and I look forward to helping resolve some pertinent questions. So, when we were having a discussion in the week, Robbie, you mentioned a number of things that are going on in the country, and I also conducted my own research to understand where the country is and what is going on with these pension contributions, and as we also want to relate them to small business development. Yeah, so you have any questions for me, I would be gladly able to take them on now.
Wow, exciting, Doc. You must expect a lot of questions today, and very challenging questions. It has been a hot week, Doc. I should be able to assure you that if into kuno people are excited about the pronouncement of partial payments regarding NAPSA benefits. Now, Dr. Kasonso, there are robust discussions about this topic here in Zambia. A near firestorm has risen about the early withdrawals of the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, contributions now permitted by the New Dawn administration. What is this business all about, Doc? What is this business all about? Over to you, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie. Thank you so much for that for that great question. The business of the National Pension Scheme Authority is about collecting contributions from working people and making sure that those collections are invested to grow that investment. And then when they are ready to retire from work, they can draw upon those as a form of social security. When we were kids, we used to have the Zambia National Provident Fund. That's what they changed into NAPSA, basically, National Pensions Scheme Authority. So the main issues around the pensions in Zambia, of course, it's one of the institutions that suffered greatly from the liquidations and the winding up of companies that took place in the early 90s, in the early 90s and the mid 90s, up to the late 90s. Yeah. So, but the main issue of the NAPSA contributions is that, first of all, when a person is working, a portion of their money is supposed to be deducted from their salary and then matched by the employer in the same amount, and then deposited with the National Pension Scheme Authority to grow that money. That money continues to grow, which means NAPSA invests that money in worthy causes at home or abroad to be able to make sure that there is social security for the retiree when they retire. So the main issues are three. Number one is the ownership. Who is the owner of that contribution? Number two, it's the nature of the pension scheme. The changes that the government is trying to introduce borders on changing the nature of the pension scheme from what it was designed originally. And the final issue there, Robbie, is people, when they contribute, they always ask an important question: will the money be there when they retire? Those are the main issues, Robbie.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. A lot of people remain excited. We've got uncles, aunties, and wherever they are, and you find them, seated. You find them seated. The discussion they're putting on, Doc, is I'm gonna get my money, and then and then you ask them, what will you do with the money immediately? They're saying, I'll reason after I get my money. Very exciting, Doc.
Yeah.
Okay, Doc. It's absolutely amazing. Maybe we will say it's an excitement by employees regarding the pronouncement of the partial payment of NAPSA benefits by the New Dawn. Okay, fine. Doc, I have this question from you, Doc. When it comes to pension contributions, what are the main issues, Doc?
Yeah. So, the main issues when it comes to pension is, first of all, pension is a pension. It is a social security payment after employment. That is substantively the nature of it. So now, if people must have withdrawals or early withdrawals from the pension scheme, what that means is that they are appropriating distributions. So from the pension scheme standpoint, they are doing distributions. So under what circumstances, under what conditions must these withdrawals be made? So the government is trying to change the original rules so that people can have a portion of that money available for some of their needs. Now, the main issues are two. I hope that those have been established in this policy. There must be qualified distributions and non-qualified distributions. Qualified distributions are withdrawals upon reaching a certain age, and also taken when a person has a disability. That's a qualified distribution, or made by a beneficiary or your estate after your death. Is a qualified distribution, or used to buy or rebuild your first home. So that is generally the main issues around that. So what contributors ask when they contribute is the money. Who is the owner of the money? Of course, the owner of the money is a contributor. Now, there is also an issue of the vesting period. In best practice, you have to have worked.
Okay.
You have to have worked a certain number of years for you to be eligible. So that must be made very clear. You must have worked for a certain number of years. For example, here in the United States, and when it comes to what we call the individual retirement account, they want you to work for at least 5 years before you can be eligible to withdraw. And also, there are conditions. That relate. Okay. Robbie, are you there?
I'm there. Sorry, I was disturbed.
Yeah. So there are conditions that must be met. For example, you must have held a job for 5 years, and you must have been contributing to that, to the IRA or to the individual retirement account. And so it's all the issue is Social Security. Really, those funds are create Social Security for people, that the money will be available and will be there long after they have left employment. So if the money is assured that it will be there, so then there must be what we call qualified distributions. A qualified distribution is when they reach the age, and then they can take out that when they have a disability, and also when they've died, and also in best practice, they should also be able to take out that if they are trying to use the money to build a home. Those are qualified, but there are also non-qualified distributions. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. So here we go. You have highlighted with qualified and non-qualified distributions from NAPSA. So looking at how you've really explained very well, if Mwalondolo Lagwino Sanev, because I know we have a lot of beneficiaries from NAPSA in our country here. And most civil servants are beneficiaries of NAPSA. Those who were with the other NAPSA, pensions fund were shifted, and they are with NAPSA. And then looking at these, others have already clocked about maybe let's say 15 years, others have gone above 10 years, and there are those others that are about 5 years. Now, Doc, maybe let me take this opportunity to find out on behalf of the masses. Others are saying, I can get a loan from the bank, basing my collateral on NAPSA distribution, NAPSA benefits. Doc.
Yeah, no, actually, the way the pension schemes are usually structured, I haven't gone into details on how the NAPSA have structured theirs. But in best practice, one of the things you do is you take out a distribution from the you take out a distribution from your contributions, you know, to avoid getting a loan from the bank. So if you have access to a loan from the bank, then you should go ahead and borrow. But you can't use the distribution as collateral. One of the advantages of that withdrawal is to avoid you taking out a loan from the bank to make a qualified payment.
Good. I'm sure viewers, there you are. You've heard it for yourselves from the horse's mouth, Professor Kasonso, explaining these things in simplicity. Doc, I have this other burning question within myself. If the owners of the contributions, Professor Kasonso,
Yes,
are the contributors, what are the best practices for early or partial withdrawals of NAPSA contributions, Doc?
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob, for that question. But first of all, let's knock out this notion that people cannot withdraw money from a pension fund. They can withdraw. It's their money. Of course, some of that money should have vested in the first place. And the vesting of those funds are after they've worked for a certain period of time, or that's when even the employer's portion becomes available. So best practice is usually the employee contributes, and the employer also contributes the same amount to make it into that fund, so that fund is growing to ensure social security of the contributor after retirement. Now, what happens is this. If at any given time, a person should be able to withdraw it because it's their money, get some out of it. Yeah, so that's what probably the government is going to do here, is to get people to withdraw some of that money because they recognize that they're the owners. Yeah, but they must, best practice spells out the distributions that do not carry a penalty. First of all, we mentioned qualified distributions, but also exceptions to the non-qualified distributions. Let me give you a series of examples. Depending on how they are restructuring that pension scheme, there could be that people are allowed to take out a portion of their pension in a series of substantially equal distributions over time. That is one part in best practice. And the second one, if you have a medical situation that needs to be addressed, you can access some of those distributions in a period you are considered non-qualified, or non-qualified even after that period you considered qualified. So paying for medical bills, and also if you have a problem with the revenue service and you need to pay a lot of taxes, you can be allowed to access. That's in best practice. I'm not saying that's what we have in Zambia, but in best practice, if you are owing the revenue service taxes or anything like that, your levy, you can withdraw some to pay for that. And also qualified, what are called qualified reservist distributions. Or if you need money for disaster recovery. For example, somebody can argue that the COVID was a disaster. People can withdraw and access some of that money to recover from a disaster. That's in best practice. And then you can also, if you need money for You can take out a distribution to pay for qualified education expenses for yourself or for children. In best practice, there is that exception. People can access those funds to go and pay for qualified education expenses. And another one that you'll be surprised that is also found in best practice is early withdrawals. As an exception to non-qualified distributions, is you are recovering the cost of childbirth or adoption expenses up to a certain amount. So I don't know in the policy for the UPND if they have streamlined it that way. So, but what I do know is that the early withdrawals from a pension scheme and stuff like that should not create a firestorm in the news. It's a no-brainer. Nibali abali esonka nabakosi bakukunjita bakampani abalebika pakali pamu but amapange yakwa bati babula shitendalama elo nomba baye chitantwanikane baye kongwera pona shimbi kanshi kongole shatu ya shani kumkoshi wa Zambia nebe chalo tili kongole emefo kongwera pona shimbi pali NAPSA sure. Over to you, Ravi. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, Doc. Actually, around oscillating within that question I posed, and pertinent issues and fundamental issues that you've talked about, Doc. We had Dr. Luvinda Habazoka discuss this matter, regarding NAPSA, partial payment. He had his own view. He talked of him in his contribution. He was concerned about a common Zambian's future. He looked at the behavior of a Zambian, the common behavior of a Zambian. Where you get money, chadila nomba. Do you know me? I don't know. Do you know me? Do you know me? So alanda Dr. Luvinda Habazoka ati inena umfoluse bantu kuntanshi abantu bala abama destitute. That's where I think over 50%, that's where he was weighing on. But again, he didn't also allow people probably to critically, think through that. Inena mwananati, I think through this fora ya Bonano TV, one-on-one with Professor Kasonso. Professor Kasonso is here to help us, with the future confusion that everyone is anticipating, so that they can laugh at somebody who has brought this policy. We will not look at the other impact, that might affect the institution itself. It's none of our business here on Bonano. It's none of our business. Our business is on the beneficiary. Chapwa, doc. To Asanta Mwan. So what we are saying, what is revolving around there is that, Doc, because we are discussing, business issues with a focus on Zambia, and Zambia is having this exciting moment of, accessing funds from NAPSA. Those investments we've done with NAPSA, getting it. There is this misconception. I don't know, maybe I may call it misconception, or it's a mystery, where people are calculating to say, I have worked for NAPSA, for example, for about maybe 10 years. And they've calculated their, contributions. And all of a sudden, they are adding this interest. Doc, help us. NAPSA. Is it an investment worth attracting? Maybe looking at money, value for money. Is it an investment giving us, value for money?
Let me comment on a number of things that you have mentioned. You have mentioned the issue of the downside of this policy of early distributions leading to destitution in old age. That's a legitimate concern. Yeah, but in my estimation, the benefits. Sorry.
Okay, we seem to must have lost Doc. I am sure viewers, Doc will be in a moment. Of course, we continue, receiving questions. Okay, Doc, you disappeared for some time. You are welcome, Doc, and bring those points out, Doc.
Yeah,
thank you.
So the concern of potential future destitution is legitimate, and we can't run away from that. And secondly, the notion that people will misuse that money, we cannot also escape from that. But if they misuse that money, it's their money. Sorry, I'm choking. Yeah, just give me a moment. Yeah.
Okay.
So, that question also speaks to the ownership of the money. It's their money. They're the ones who've been contributing. Ngawabulenda amashobe orobi wayaponganya. Jodo wasayisha nyati orobi lichpo. So now the concept is this. People should be allowed to spend their money. That's simple. People should be allowed to spend their money. That's very simple. We can't hold this idea that government is better to keep the money for the people. Look at the irresponsible government that we had, what it did. The borrowings exceed the value of anything we're producing in the country. Is that the responsibility you would like to trust with your money if you were a pension contributor? So the people, yes, here and there we may have anomalies and irresponsible characters, but the people, individual families, the contributors, the owner of the money are more responsible than the average government. That's all. Wow. That's all. And two, if the owners should access part of the money, what is needed in the policy is to streamline things that they can spend that money
on. Docs seem to be having challenges, maybe it's the temperatures trying to disturb him. Doc, you are back, Doc, please.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about your experience, Doc. I'm sure you must be all right this time. Yes, Doc.
I hope so. Yeah, so anyway, what I'm trying to simply say is that the people is their money. They should be allowed to spend it in the way they should. But for the early withdrawal to be excusable from the qualified distributions, the policy should contain the specific things that money can be spent on. And there must be that evidence. There must be that evidence provided to the authority before it can pay that money. So, in other words, it's all fine. People can access part of their money so long they meet those exceptions that we have tabulated tonight.
Beautiful, Doc. Beautiful, Doc. That's interesting. I'm sure viewers, you are hearing, you're hearing all this, truth in theory, also in practice. Vamwisho mjuka semba. Vena kasolwezi, avena lwapula, avena kasama, avena chipata. Southern province konsoko mulibuti. We know that there's been this excitement, and we are trying hard to address this matter in a way we can explain with Professor Kasonso. He has assured us, and there are no two ways about it. Shiria ninda nama shesu tuashbula twashibombera twabapeera ba NAPSA n'abaako nkito nabo babiikirapo bapeera ku NAPSA ero batuwa kati tukimwasenda question ono. So Shesu, that is what we are being talked about. So Doc, do you think the new policy by our government conforms with the best practices?
The permission to permit early withdrawals, it does. What I'm not sure about are the details. You know, we have a phrase which we call that the devil is in the details. For what purposes are those withdrawals are allowed? I have heard some rumors through the blogosphere that someone can go there and get the money to start a business. That's a high risk withdrawal that shouldn't be allowed. The best practice has got specific things that you can withdraw the money for: building a house, paying educational expenses, substantively the things that we went through. So there should be those concrete things that build value for the contributor, not that number nabeno ni chance yabo ya kuyashona indalama bakamuneka kona but no they forget to withdraw pension so that bashite ku motoka. No. So we have to look at the details of what the policy is, and then we can come back again and give a talk on that.
Sure, Doc. I was also equally looking at what people might be facing as their challenge, in this matter regarding partial payments of NAPSA benefits. Do you have an idea of the threshold that will be allowed as partial benefit per individual that has served with NAPSA?
That is what we need to look through in that policy, and it's not clear at this point whether that amount has been made, or that percentage or proportion has been made. So we have to look at the policy in details to see if it comports with best practice. But the idea to allow people to access that money before they retire comports with public practice, with the best practices in public practice, in public policy. So that should not become under debate. One, the money never much contribute, and two, but to take what spell out the qualified distributions and what they can get that money for. Otherwise, it will defeat the entire purpose of even having contributions to the pension fund.
Sure, Doc. Doc, you're having a history, of knowing how, in general, I would not, give, just in my own opinion, I think on average, we Zambians, twalitemu nkongole sana.
Yeah.
Twalitemuka ku nkongole sana. I know, and why I'm saying on average, we have history where a section of civil servants got a lot of debt from banks, and then these banks started, deducting the monies. Of course, the system was deducting monies, but again, another system was not remitting money to the other guys that had given money. Now, what came to happen was that there was that misunderstanding, and then when the two elephants start fighting, the grass suffers. So the grass suffers. Now, kuabati mutiteko bailout mutulipirireko, and then imonfisove elefo mutusheko. And of course, that was being pronounced a lot, in 2021, this was promising this other one was promising that regarding the same matter. Now, and then we are having NAPSA coming in. Of course, in my own opinion, I would not, I wouldn't scare out the fact that there will be some mismanagement of our own monies as Zambians. That can happen. But again, I want to assure somebody to say, if we are going to face that devil, of tempting us to just mismanage funds, Bonano TV and Professor Kasonso are there. They've so far produced 3 series. 3. This is the 3rd series. We are coming where we've talked about businesses and how businesses can really thrive through, storms and find itself, surviving with available opportunities that have been availed by the new Dawn government. We talked about CDF and how that CDF can be managed. We also talked about, farming and how farming, can also come in. Okay. How can we really re-emphasize on that one, Doc?
Just repeat the narrative before that. Need to hear all the substantive issues.
Okay. Are we having chance as viewers that are watching you, Doc? Maybe having an opportunity of, trying to find out other issues that we've discussed in the three series, Doc, especially regarding business, because other people might get the money with a view of, seriously getting into business than allowing themselves to get into a loan which will attract interest, but they want to get their money and go with their plan. Yeah. What is your take on that one, Doc?
Yeah, everything, all things equal, Rob, what we need to recognize is that the contributor is sovereign. They can use their money on whatever they want to use. But as long as it is mandatory, required by law, the law should not be scattered. The law should be able to be sustained. The law is that there should be social security for a working person to have money after they retire. Because when they retire, there are law on opportunities, there are law on energy, there are law on most of the things that they need to make money. So that is money they have made, and then they can live off of some of that money. That is a very important thing to accept, actually.
Thank you, Doc. I had a lot of questions for you. Thank you very much for having a wonderful time with us on Bonano TV, Professor Kasonso. It hasn't been a very good, a day for you, coming in and, breaking in for, a little cough that is, we've seen it. Okay. Now, let me bring in teammates on Bonano TV. Greetings and a brief comment or any question, on topics tonight. So questions or contributions from the FB, bloggies and blog spheres, you're most welcome.
So we just have Nicholas Mulenga saying good program.
And
Martha here says, sorry, I can't join. That's it. We don't have any questions from the blog sphere.
Okay. So, Dr. Kasonso, you are a scholar, practitioner. Can you explore for us the misconception between self-employment, the domain of the small business or the woman, and regular employment, Doc?
Yeah. There are several of them, Rob, but for the purposes of this show and the fact that we must be mindful of time, let's just look at 6 of them. For people who want to venture into self-employment, most of the time they want to say, all I need is a passion and a good idea. A passion and a good idea. And usually that is not enough, because you need to formalize your enterprise, and you also need to contribute to NAPSA for yourself. Yourself and the business contributes on your behalf, so that you can have that money available for you post-retirement. That mostly in Zambia we don't do. So there is that misconception that all you need is passion and a good idea to work it out. No, you need to structure your business so that you can relate all those factors that are working in your business to a formal way of life that is comparable to regular employment. The second misconception is that if I'm self-employed, then I must do all things in the business. And that is a misconception as well. You know, you don't have to do everything if you're self-employed. You can delegate significant portions of your work to other people. And that is normal. It's a normal way of doing business. Now, the other thing is you become your own boss. Of course, you're your own boss. But, you know, for the regular employed person, the most dreaded person is their boss. You don't want your boss in your business. Yeah, but in self-employment, the excitement of the thrill is that you become your own boss. You don't have to report to anyone. But it is a misconception. There is a misconception there that being your own boss brings you into a place where you can do things on your own. There is a downside to that role. The downside is the responsibilities that you have to have towards your customers, your clients, and if you have even employees. So being your own boss as a thrill is really not there because it's a place of responsibility to run your own business as a small business developer. And then the other one is misconception is we think that we have more free time. We have more free time. That is also can be so further from the truth. Being self-employed doesn't mean you have more free time. It means that you are going to work actually more than the 40 hours that you can work if you're employed by someone else. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. So being self-employed or running a small business means you have to put in the hours to get things done. And since you're not reporting to anyone, you're responsible for even sweeping the floor in your company. If the floor is not swept, cleaning the bathrooms for customers, if the bathrooms are not clean, and things like that. So self-employment doesn't mean more free time. No, it means actually double the time. So there is a misconception that when you're self-employed, you have more free time. And fifth is that starting a business let you write off all your expenses. Now, this goes to businesses that have to pay taxes. There is a misconception. We think that if I am self-employed, then whatever I'm spending, I can just write it off as a business expense. No. By law, there are certain expenses you can withdraw from your income. Because in running a business, you're required to pay taxes to ZRA. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you can go and spend money wherever you want to spend it and come and write it off in the taxes. That is a misconception. And lastly, but not the least, is an issue we talked about last week. The issue we talked about last week was that sales is the most important number in your business. I've got to get more sales. Yes, you've got to get more sales. But really, for you to survive in self-employment, what you need is more cash. So you need to focus on generating more cash rather than just making sales. You can sell a lot and get paid none of it back. You will go out of business. So those are just a few misconceptions that we put in the show to try and inform the small business developer, because small business in the Republic of Zambia or anywhere in any other country are the generators of the most of the employment that we're going to have in the economy. So if we can promote small businesses, we will tackle the 7 million unemployment population in the Republic of Zambia. Thank you, Mr. Chibolo. I hope that helps.
That really does. That really works, Doc. Thank you so much. One more last question with a few, maybe in 3 minutes. In view of the foregoing discussion, what public policy recommendations can you make for our hardworking government of His Excellency President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema? Yes, Doc.
Well, thank you. It's very difficult to make a public policy recommendation in 3 minutes, but I will just mention 3 things. Number one, the early partial withdrawals from the NAPSA should be spelled out clearly what the people can withdraw the money for, and should actually directly tell the contributors that those NAPSA distributions cannot be collateralized as debt for borrowing more money. And then secondly, so far as the development of small business is concerned, small businesses should be encouraged to be contributing to NAPSA, formalize and contribute to NAPSA. You know, they shouldn't just be quiet. They don't know anything. If nobody's talking about it, nobody will do anything about it. And then, once the small businesses are contributing to NAPSA as well, it should be made very clear. There should be clarity also on a significant portion of the population who worked for certain companies that didn't send the distributions to NAPSA, because you know, there are companies, even parastatals, that have been contributing to NAPSA on behalf of the employees. So some people can even get excited, but only to find out that their company wasn't actually contributing to NAPSA. So NAPSA doesn't owe them anything. There should be clarity about that this is only available to companies that were contributing and their employees. So if ZNBC wasn't contributing to NAPSA, oh, no. It's bad news. Maybe a few years that they contributed, people can access. But if there's a huge chunk and a huge period that they didn't contribute, they should probably be excluded from taking partial distributions because their corporation was not contributing to NAPSA. So if that is not done, it can create a crisis. Yeah.
Wow. Well, viewers, we wish to thank you for accompanying us on TV Bonano with one-on-one with Professor Kasonso. Professor, we want to thank you so much for your time coming on Bonano TV on this edition, part 3 of one-on-one with Professor Kasonso. Would you love to say something before we end the program?
No, I am done. You can end the program.
Thank you so much. Well, viewers, we've come to the end of our program. Remember to tune in next time at the same time, 20 hours to 21 hours. We are always there for you, Bonano TV. Bye.